I had always trusted Sarah. From the moment we met, she was the one I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. Engaged for nearly a year, our plans had always been clear. Wedding, moving into our new apartment, building a life together. She was vibrant, witty, and full of life, and I had never doubted her love. Or so I thought. Lately, though, something felt off. Little things she did started to gnaw at the edge of my consciousness. Texts she'd hide when I walked into the room. Late nights she claimed were just work. And the subtle avoidance of any real conversations about our future. At first, I tried to brush it off. People get busy. Stress at work. Life happens. But deep down, a quiet, uneasy suspicion was growing, whispering that things weren't as they seemed. I found myself noticing the smallest details. The way her phone buzzed odd hours, the fleeting expressions that didn't match her words, the distracted tone in her voice. Each moment was like a tiny ripple across the calm surface of our relationship, signaling something beneath that I didn't yet understand. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was imagining things. But the instinct in my chest told me otherwise. I remember the night clearly, the night I couldn't ignore it any longer. We were sitting in the living room, the soft glow of the lamp casting a warm light over the space we had shared for months. The air was familiar, comfortable, yet charged with tension I couldn't quite place. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Sarah," I said gently, "can I ask you something?" Her eyes met mine, curious, but also slightly wary. She nodded, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Of course, what's up?" It was then, with a simple, almost casual question, that I unknowingly opened the door to everything I had feared. My words were careful, deliberate, meant to probe without accusing. "You've been distant lately. Is everything okay? Is there something you're not telling me?" For a moment, she froze. The smile she had been wearing didn't reach her eyes anymore. There was a brief pause, almost imperceptible, but in that pause, the truth hung heavily, suspended like a storm about to break. I felt my chest tighten, my stomach twist, and a chill run down my spine. That pause, so small, so ordinary to anyone else, was enough to shatter the illusion of normalcy I had clung to for weeks. Then, softly, she spoke. And just like that, the ground beneath me shifted entirely. Sarah's words hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. "Ethan, I'm moving in with Anthony," she said, her voice soft but resolute. "And we're having a baby." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My mind refused to process what I had just heard. Anthony? The man I barely knew. The one she had mentioned in passing, but never with any seriousness? And a baby? My fiancée, my partner, the woman I had trusted with my heart, was planning a life with someone else, and it wasn't a hypothetical future. It was happening now. I sat there, stunned, the room spinning slightly. The familiar walls of our living room suddenly felt like a cage, the soft lamp light harsh and accusing. I wanted to scream, to cry, to demand answers, but my voice faltered. I couldn't reconcile the Sarah I knew with the Sarah sitting across from me, speaking calmly about abandoning our shared plans, our future, our life. Anger bubbled beneath the surface, sharp and acrid. How could she do this? How could she betray me so completely, so casually, as if our entire relationship had been a minor inconvenience in her grand plan? And yet, underneath the fury, there was something else, hurt, disbelief, and a gnawing ache of betrayal that I hadn't anticipated. I tried to steady my voice, to keep the calm I had prided myself on, but it trembled slightly. "Sarah, why?" I asked, the single word heavy with disbelief and heartbreak. She looked at me, eyes steady, not apologetic, not regretful, just matter of fact. "I need to be honest with myself, with both of us. I'm not happy, Ethan. I've known for months that this wasn't right. Months." The word hit me harder than anything else. Months of shared laughter, conversations, plans. All of it now felt tainted, hollow, a cruel mockery of what I believed. I wanted to shake her, demand the truth, force her to see the devastation she had caused. But instead, I found myself sinking into silence, letting the shock wash over me in waves. Every memory of our engagement, every dream we had built together, flashed through my mind. I remember the nights we stayed up planning our wedding, the mornings we laughed over coffee, the way she would look at me with a sparkle in her eye that had always felt like home. And now it felt like all of that was just a story someone else had told me, a story I had believed in blindly. Finally, I took a deep, shuddering breath. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, they were all there, simmering beneath my calm exterior. But one thing became crystal clear. I had a choice. I could let this destroy me, let it consume every part of me, or I could react with clarity, with measured strength, and decide how I would navigate the aftermath of her choices. I looked at her, her expression unreadable, and felt the full weight of the situation settle over me. Everything had changed. Nothing would ever be the same. And yet, in that crushing moment of betrayal, a spark of determination ignited within me. I would not crumble. I would not lose myself. I would respond, and how I responded would define everything that came next. I stood there, letting the silence stretch between us, each heartbeat loud in the suddenly oppressive room. Sarah's announcement had left a gaping hole in my chest, but I refused to let it consume me. I knew I needed clarity, not chaos. My first words were calm, deliberate. "Sarah, thank you for your honesty," I said, surprising even myself with the steadiness in my voice. She blinked, confusion flickering across her face. "Ethan, I thought you'd be angry." I cut in softly. "I am hurt, betrayed, and disappointed. But I also need to think clearly. We both need to understand what comes next, and I will not let emotion dictate my choices." Her mouth opened, but I raised a hand slightly, stopping her before she could protest. "I need you to leave my apartment tonight," I continued, voice firm. "Take your things. I need space, and I need to process everything. This cannot continue under the same roof." She hesitated, but there was no malice in my tone, just an unyielding boundary, a clear statement that I would not let her disregard my life or my dignity. Slowly, she nodded, realizing the control she assumed she had was slipping. I watched as she gathered her things, each movement deliberate, a silent acknowledgement that I was no longer the man who would blindly accept betrayal. Once the door closed, I sank onto the couch, my mind a whirlwind. Shock, anger, hurt, they were all there, but beneath it, something else emerged, clarity. I would not allow this betrayal to define me, to destroy the person I had worked so hard to become. Instead, I made a silent vow. I would rebuild, stronger and wiser, and ensure that my life was guided by respect, trust, and self-worth. Over the next few days, I focused on myself. Calls of friends, long walks, journaling my thoughts. Each step, each action reminded me of who I was, and more importantly, who I would become. The betrayal had been shocking, but it also awakened a resolve I hadn't known I possessed. I would not chase Sarah. I would not beg for explanations beyond what I'd already been given. I would live and live fully on my own terms. Weeks later, when I walked past the empty apartment where our life had once thrived, I didn't feel emptiness. I felt freedom, clarity, and strength. Sarah had made her choices, and I had made mine. For the first time since the revelation, I smiled without reservation. I had faced betrayal, faced the unimaginable, and emerged with dignity intact. Life had changed, yes, but in its change, I found empowerment. I realized that true strength wasn't in revenge or retaliation. It was in reclaiming your life, standing tall, and refusing to let someone else's choices dictate your happiness. And as I moved forward, I knew one thing with certainty. The future was mine to write, untainted by the past, unshaken by betrayal, and guided by the unwavering knowledge of my own worth. /